secret life of your sleeping mind. Before you close your eyes tonight, I'd like to invite you to think about something rather extraordinary. In just a little while, perhaps only a few minutes from now, your body will grow wonderfully still. Your breathing will become slower. The weight of the day will begin to melt away. The room around you will fade into quiet darkness. And without asking for permission, without making a sound, one of the most remarkable journeys in nature will quietly begin. Not somewhere far away, not beneath the ocean, not among distant stars, but inside your own mind. Every single night, while the rest of the world believes you are simply sleeping, your brain begins one of the busiest shifts it will ever work. Billions of tiny nerve cells begin exchanging signals. Memories are gently sorted. Emotions are carefully reorganized. Old experiences are revisited. New ideas quietly take shape. Invisible repairs begin throughout the brain. And somewhere inside all of that extraordinary activity, stories begin to appear. Stories that no writer has planned. Stories no audience will ever see. Stories created entirely for one person? You. Perhaps that is one of the strangest truths about being human. The most private theater in existence opens every single night. The tickets are free. The performance cannot be repeated. And almost every morning, most of it quietly disappears. For thousands of years, people have wondered what dreams truly are. Are they messages, memories, warnings, random thoughts, or perhaps something even more mysterious? Long before microscopes, long before brain scanners, before anyone understood neurons, electricity, or REM, sleep, our ancestors gazed into the same darkness we do tonight. They woke from vivid dreams convinced they had visited distant worlds. Some believed they had spoken with loved ones who had already passed away. Others believed gods had whispered guidance during the night. Entire civilizations treated dreams as sacred visitors. Ancient priests carefully interpreted them. Kings delayed battles because of them. Travelers changed their journeys after seeing certain dreams beneath the stars. Even now, thousands of years later, dreams continue to leave us asking the very same question. What is my mind trying to tell me? Perhaps the answer is both simpler and more beautiful than we once imagined. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like an enormous old library. During the day, its doors stand wide open. People constantly enter. Books arrive faster than anyone can organize them. Every conversation, every face you recognize, every song that plays in a grocery store, every email, every worry, every laugh, every disappointment, every beautiful sunset, every headline, every small moment is carried inside. By evening, the shelves have become wonderfully cluttered. Nothing has been lost, but very little has been organized. Now imagine what happens after the lights go out. The library closes, silence settles over every room. Then, without anyone watching, the librarians quietly begin their work. Books are returned to their proper shelves. Some are carefully preserved, others are quietly discarded. Connections are made between stories that never seemed related before. One memory reminds another. One idea sparks a new possibility. Old experiences are gently filed beside newer ones. By morning, the library is ready once again. Not empty, not erased, simply better organized. In many ways, this is remarkably close to what your brain actually does each night. Sleep is not an absence of activity. It is one of the most active periods your brain ever experiences. Perhaps that surprises you. It surprises many people. We often imagine sleep as the opposite of wakefulness, as though the brain simply switches itself off, like turning out the lights in a quiet house. Yet modern neuroscience paints an entirely different picture. While your body rests, your brain becomes astonishingly busy. Some regions become quieter. Others grow even more active than they were during the day. Information flows continuously. Chemical messengers travel from cell to cell. Neural pathways strengthen. Others gently fade away. Your immune system quietly communicates with your nervous system. Hormones rise and fall in carefully timed rhythms. It is less like shutting down, and far more like an entire city changing from daytime business to overnight maintenance. Roads are repaired, deliveries are made, streets are cleaned, Electric systems are inspected. Work that would interrupt the busy daytime is quietly completed beneath the cover of darkness. By sunrise, everything is ready, long before anyone notices. Perhaps your brain deserves more credit than it usually receives. And then, somewhere along this peaceful journey, something remarkable begins to happen. Pictures appear, voices emerge, places you've never visited somehow feel familiar. Time no longer behaves as it usually does. You might find yourself walking through your childhood home, only to open one familiar door and step onto a beach you've never seen. You may share dinner with someone who lives thousands of miles away, speak effortlessly with a person you've not thought about in years, watch the sky fill with impossible colors, or discover yourself gently floating above quiet forests without questioning how you arrived there. The extraordinary part is not that these things happen. The extraordinary part is that while they are happening, your mind accepts every impossible detail without hesitation. Only after waking do we smile and think, well, that was certainly strange. Scientists have spent decades trying to understand why this happens. They've watched sleeping brains through powerful scanners, measured electrical activity, recorded tiny movements beneath closed eyelids, observed millions of sleeping hours inside laboratories around the world. And despite everything we've learned, dreams still refuse to surrender all of their secrets. Perhaps that's what makes them so fascinating. The more we discover, the more mystery remains. Every answer seems to uncover another beautiful question waiting quietly beneath it. Maybe that's true of life itself. There is another thought, one I find strangely comforting. Tonight, while you rest here listening, you are not the only dreamer. Across the world, millions of people are slowly drifting towards sleep. Some are watching rain fall beyond their bedroom windows. Others are listening to waves somewhere along a distant coastline. Snow is quietly settling across silent villages. Warm summer breezes move gently through open windows in another hemisphere. Children are falling asleep after bedtime stories. Grandparents are resting after long days. Nurses finishing night shifts. Travelers crossing oceans. Students exhausted from studying. Parents finally enjoying a few peaceful moments after the house has grown quiet. One by one, they all close their eyes, and inside every sleeping mind, another invisible journey quietly begins. Different stories, different memories, different dreams, yet all guided by the same remarkable human brain. There is something deeply comforting about that thought. Sleep is perhaps the one journey every person on earth continues to share, no matter where we come from, no matter what language we speak, no matter how different our lives may seem during the day. Night gently reminds us that we are more alike than we often realize. So tonight, rather than asking your mind to be perfectly still, perhaps you can simply allow it to do what it has been quietly doing. Every night, since the day you were born, there is nothing you need to control, nothing you need to solve before sleep arrives. Your brain already knows the way. It has practiced this beautiful rhythm thousands upon thousands of times, and as we continue our journey together, we'll gently explore what truly happens after your eyes close. We'll discover why your brain never really sleeps, how dreams quietly emerge from the darkness, and why every peaceful night may be one of the greatest acts of healing your body ever performs. So settle in, let your breathing grow just a little slower, and allow curiosity to gently replace the noise of the day, because our journey is only just beginning. The moment your brain begins its night shift, there comes a quiet moment each evening, so ordinary that most of us never notice it. It lasts only a few minutes, sometimes even less. Yet during those brief moments, your body crosses one of the most extraordinary boundaries in nature. You leave behind the waking world and begin the gentle journey into sleep. No switch is flipped, no curtain suddenly falls. Instead, everything changes almost too slowly to notice. Your breathing becomes softer. Your heartbeat settles into a quieter rhythm. The muscles in your shoulders release the weight they have carried all day. Your eyelids grow just a little heavier. The sounds around you seem farther away, almost as though the world itself has decided to whisper. If someone were watching from the outside, they might simply think, There goes another person falling asleep. But inside your mind, something astonishing has already begun. Imagine an enormous city. Just after midnight, the streets that bustled only hours before have grown peaceful. Office lights disappear one by one. Shops close their doors. Traffic slowly fades into silence. From a distance, the city appears asleep. Yet beneath that quiet surface, thousands of people are only beginning their work. Street cleaners quietly sweep empty roads. Engineers inspect bridges. Electricians maintain power lines. Hospitals continue caring for patients. Bakeries begin preparing tomorrow's bread. Delivery trucks quietly restock grocery stores before sunrise. The city has not stopped working. It has simply changed its priorities. Your brain behaves in remarkably similar ways. As the outside world becomes quieter, an invisible night shift quietly begins. Billions of neurons continue talking to one another. Tiny electrical signals travel through pathways built over an entire lifetime. Chemical messengers move from one region to another. Some memories grow stronger, others slowly fade. Cells begin repairing themselves. Waste products that accumulated throughout the day are gently cleared away. By the time morning arrives, an enormous amount of work has already been completed, most of it without you ever realizing it happened. Scientists once believed sleep was little more than a period of rest, a time when the brain simply powered down, waiting patiently for morning. But modern research tells a very different story. In many ways, your sleeping brain is almost as busy as your waking one. Different regions simply perform different jobs. Some areas become wonderfully quiet, others become surprisingly active. It's a carefully choreographed performance, refined over millions of years of evolution. Every night, the same beautiful sequence begins again, not because your brain has forgotten yesterday, but because tomorrow deserves a healthy mind waiting to greet it. The journey usually begins with something scientists call stage 1 sleep. Although calling it sleep can sometimes feel a little unfair, it is more like standing in the doorway between two worlds. One foot remains in wakefulness, the other quietly steps into sleep. You may still hear distant sounds, a passing car, the hum of a fan, rain against the window, perhaps even the sound of your own breathing. Thoughts continue drifting through your mind, although they begin to lose their sharp edges. One idea quietly blends into another. A memory becomes a picture. The picture becomes something entirely different. This gentle transition is so subtle that if someone wakes you during these first few moments, you'll often smile and say, "I wasn't asleep." And in a way, you'll genuinely believe it. Your brain has only just begun crossing the bridge. Many people experience a curious sensation here. Perhaps you felt it yourself. You're drifting peacefully, when suddenly, it feels as though you've stumbled. Your entire body gives a quick little jerk. Your arms twitch. Your legs move unexpectedly. And just like that, you're awake again. For centuries, people invented wonderful explanations for this strange feeling. Some believed it meant the soul had briefly wandered. Others imagined invisible spirits gently tugging at sleeping bodies. The truth, while less mysterious, is no less fascinating. Scientists call these sudden movements hypnic jerks. As your muscles relax, your brain occasionally misinterprets that relaxation as the beginning of a fall. For just an instant, it sends a signal telling your muscles to catch themselves, a tiny misunderstanding between your brain and your body. Harmless, perfectly normal, shared by millions of people. Perhaps you've smiled after one of these little surprises, wondering what on earth just happened. Now you know. As you drift a little deeper, your surroundings begin slipping quietly out of reach. The conversation outside your window, the ticking clock, the dog barking somewhere in the distance. Your brain no longer considers them important, not because it cannot hear them, but because it has chosen to protect your rest. This is one of the quiet miracles of sleep. Every night, your brain gently decides which parts of the outside world deserve your attention and which can safely wait until morning. Imagine trying to sleep if every tiny sound demanded a full response. Every creaking floorboard, every rustling leaf, every passing breeze rest would become almost impossible. Instead, your brain quietly becomes a thoughtful guardian, standing watch, while allowing you to continue your journey downward. This next stage is where most of our night is actually spent. Although people often imagine dreams as the main event, much of sleep unfolds here, in calm, steady, almost invisible work. Your heartbeat becomes slower, your breathing settles into an effortless rhythm. Body temperature drops slightly. Energy that was spent throughout the day begins returning. Meanwhile, inside your brain, tiny bursts of electrical activity suddenly appear. They last only fractions of a second. Scientists call them sleep spindles. Such a curious name. For something so important, these brief bursts help strengthen memories, protect sleep from unnecessary interruptions, and quietly support learning. Imagine thousands of librarians quickly placing books back onto shelves before anyone notices. Fast, precise, silent. That is something like what these tiny electrical bursts accomplish. Every single night, another remarkable event also takes place. Your brain begins deciding which experiences deserve to stay. Not every conversation, not every advertisement, not every social media post. Thankfully. Instead, your brain gently asks itself questions. Was this important? Should I remember this tomorrow? Does this help me understand the world? Or can it quietly fade away? It is impossible to remember everything. In fact, forgetting is one of the healthiest things your brain knows how to do. Without it, our minds would become unbearably crowded. Imagine never forgetting every license plate you've ever seen, every receipt, every random face passing through a busy airport. Meaningful memories would become buried beneath endless noise. Forgetting is not failure. It is careful editing, and your brain performs that editing every single night. Perhaps there is something comforting in knowing that. You do not have to organize every thought before bed. You do not have to solve every problem tonight. Your brain has been quietly practicing this work for your entire life. Sometimes, the wisest thing we can do is simply allow it to continue, trusting that while we rest, something gentle and deeply intelligent is already unfolding beneath the surface. Soon, your journey will carry you even deeper, beyond these peaceful first stages, into the slowest, most restorative sleep your body experiences, and later still, into the mysterious landscape where dreams begin to bloom, where memories become stories, where impossible worlds somehow feel real, where your sleeping mind reveals one of its greatest secrets. And that is where our journey continues next, where dreams quietly begin. If you've ever watched the evening sky, you may have noticed that night never truly arrives all at once. The sun doesn't simply disappear. Darkness doesn't suddenly fall across the earth. Instead, light slowly softens. Colors gently fade. Shadows grow a little longer. The stars appear one by one. Sleep unfolds in much the same way. It is never a sudden event. It is a gentle descent, a quiet invitation, a slow journey into one of the most remarkable landscapes your mind will ever create. By now, your breathing has become slower, your heartbeat quieter. The weight of the day has almost completely slipped away. Outside, the world continues moving without asking anything more from you. Inside, your brain has entered one of the deepest stages of restoration. Scientists often call this deep sleep or slow wave sleep, but those names hardly capture how extraordinary this stage truly is. Imagine standing beside the ocean long after sunset. The sea moves slowly, its waves broad, steady, unhurried. That gentle rhythm, rising, falling, rising again, looks remarkably similar to the electrical activity scientists observe inside the sleeping brain. Tiny electrical signals, which raced quickly throughout the day, have now slowed into enormous rolling waves. These are called delta waves. They are the slowest brain waves we produce, and perhaps the most peaceful. If someone could somehow look inside your brain at this moment, they would see billions of neurons moving together, almost like an orchestra performing the quietest symphony imaginable. Rather than thousands of separate conversations happening all at once, Large groups of neurons begin speaking together, slowly, rhythmically, patiently. It is one of the most synchronized moments your brain experiences. And while it may appear calm, an astonishing amount of work is quietly unfolding. Throughout the day, your body has been incredibly busy. Every thought, every conversation, every movement, every decision, every emotion, every heartbeat, every new memory. All of it leaves tiny traces behind. Even your brain produces waste products simply by doing its ordinary work. For many years, scientists wondered how the brain managed to clean itself. Unlike the rest of the body, the brain has no traditional lymphatic system to carry away waste. The answer remained hidden until relatively recently. And what researchers discovered was quietly remarkable. While you sleep, especially during deep sleep, a hidden cleaning system becomes dramatically more active. Scientists call it the glymphatic system. You might think of it as an overnight housekeeping crew. During waking hours, brain cells sit closely packed together, busy communicating every second. But during deep sleep, those cells shrink ever so slightly. Tiny spaces between them become larger. This allows cerebrospinal fluid, a clear liquid surrounding the brain, to flow more freely. Almost like gentle streams washing through a peaceful forest. As this fluid moves, it helps carry away metabolic waste, including proteins that naturally build up during the day. It is one of the reasons deep sleep is believed to be so important for long-term brain health. Every night, your brain quietly tidies itself, while you dream of doing absolutely nothing. There is something wonderfully comforting about that. Perhaps you've noticed how much clearer life feels. After a truly restful night's sleep, problems that seemed impossible suddenly appear manageable. Words come more easily. Patience returns. Even colors somehow seem brighter. This isn't simply because you rested. It's because your brain spent the entire night working on tomorrow's version of you, preparing, repairing, refreshing, without asking for recognition. Deep sleep is also the time when much of your body's physical restoration quietly takes place. Cells repair tiny damage accumulated throughout the day. Your immune system strengthens its defenses. Hormones responsible for growth and tissue repair are released. Muscles recover. Bones renew themselves. Even your skin begins repairing microscopic wear, caused simply by living another day. It's easy to think of sleep as something we lose time to, but perhaps sleep is actually where much of life quietly gives time back to us. For children, deep sleep carries an even more remarkable responsibility. Growth hormone is released in greater amounts, supporting the incredible work of building bones, muscles, and developing brains. Adults no longer grow taller, although many of us secretly wish that were still possible. But we continue benefiting from this nightly repair throughout our lives. No matter our age, our bodies never completely stop healing. As long as we continue allowing them the opportunity, there is something deeply reassuring about nature's design. Nothing inside your body expects perfection. Your heart doesn't demand that every beat be flawless. Your lungs never criticize a single imperfect breath. Your brain doesn't ask you to consciously direct billions of neurons before bedtime. Instead, life quietly takes care of life, again and again, every night. Perhaps we could learn something from that. Sometimes, the healthiest thing we can do is simply stop interfering. As the night continues, something else begins to change. The deepest waves slowly become lighter. Electrical activity starts becoming more varied once again, almost as though the orchestra, after performing its slowest movement, is quietly preparing for something entirely different, something far stranger, far more mysterious. The careful maintenance of deep sleep is gradually giving way to imagination. Your body becomes even more relaxed, yet remarkably, your brain begins growing more active, not less, more. It almost seems impossible. How can a sleeping brain become busier? For decades, this puzzled scientists, until they discovered one of the most extraordinary stages in all of human biology, a stage known simply as rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. At first glance, someone watching you would notice almost nothing. You remain perfectly still beneath your blanket. Your breathing remains gentle. The room is silent, yet hidden beneath your closed eyelids. Your eyes begin making tiny movements, left, right, up, down, almost as though they're quietly following something only you can see. No one knows exactly what those invisible eyes are watching. Perhaps fragments of memory, perhaps imagined landscapes, perhaps stories only your mind could ever create. Whatever the answer, this subtle dance gave REM sleep its name, and it marked the beginning of one of neuroscience's greatest mysteries. Something extraordinary now unfolds. Your body becomes almost completely motionless, and not because something is wrong, but because your brain is protecting you. Special groups of neurons temporarily prevent most voluntary muscles from moving. Scientists call this REM atonia. Without it, every dream might become a physical performance. You might run across the bedroom while dreaming of a forest, wave your arms while flying through clouds, or accidentally leap from bed while escaping an imaginary dragon. Instead, your brain quietly whispers to your muscles, "Rest, I've got this." And so they do, perfectly, night after night. Meanwhile, inside your mind, the stage is almost ready. The lights slowly rise, the scenery begins to appear. Memories drift gently onto the stage. Faces you've not seen in years quietly return. Places merge together in impossible ways. Time loses its familiar shape. Logic politely steps aside. And somewhere, without you ever noticing the exact moment, your very first dream of the night begins. What happens inside those dreams? Why your brain creates them? And why they often feel more real than reality itself? Maybe one of the greatest mysteries your sleeping mind has ever hidden, and that is exactly where our journey leads next. Why your mind tells stories while you sleep. Somewhere between your last waking thought and your very first dream, your brain quietly begins doing something that no computer, no machine, and perhaps no other object in the known universe has ever learned to do quite the same way. It begins telling itself stories, not simple stories, not carefully planned stories, but living, moving, emotional worlds. Worlds that seem to build themselves, one impossible moment at a time. Perhaps you've dreamed of walking through your childhood home, only to open a familiar bedroom door and find yourself standing on a snowy mountain. Perhaps you've spoken with someone who has been gone for many years, yet in the dream, their voice sounded perfectly natural. Perhaps you've found yourself flying effortlessly above a quiet city, never once wondering how gravity had quietly disappeared. Dreams accept impossibility with astonishing confidence. Only after waking does the mind gently smile and whisper, "Well, that certainly made no sense." For as long as human beings have dreamed, they have searched for an explanation. Ancient civilizations believed dreams were messages sent from gods. Some thought they predicted the future. Others believed they carried warnings or blessings. Even today, many cultures still hold dreams in deep respect. There is something timeless about waking from a particularly vivid dream and wondering whether it meant something more. Perhaps that question has never completely left us. It simply changed its language. Instead of asking, "Which god sent this dream?" modern science asks, "Which neurons created it?" Different question, same curiosity. Despite decades of research, one remarkable fact remains. Scientists still cannot point to a single reason why we dream. And strangely enough, that uncertainty makes dreaming even more fascinating. There are many thoughtful ideas, many careful theories. Some explain one piece of the puzzle, others explain another. Perhaps the truth is that dreams, like people, rarely have only one purpose. One of the most widely accepted ideas begins with memory. Imagine spending an entire day walking through a bustling city. You notice hundreds of faces, traffic lights changing, birdsong between tall buildings, conversations, phone calls, music playing quietly inside a cafe, the smell of fresh bread, a child's laughter, clouds drifting overhead. Your brain records far more than you consciously realize. By bedtime, it has gathered an astonishing collection of experiences, far too many to keep exactly as they are. Something must be organized. Something must be sorted. Something must quietly be placed where it belongs. Many neuroscientists believe dreaming may be part of that process, not the filing cabinet itself, but the gentle conversation taking place while everything is being arranged. As memories move, they sometimes brush gently against older memories. A face reminds the brain of another face. One place quietly blends into another. A conversation awakens a forgotten feeling. Soon, pieces from entirely different moments begin meeting one another. That may be one reason dreams often feel so beautifully strange. Have you ever noticed that after spending the day learning something new, it sometimes appears in your dreams? Perhaps you've started learning a language, practiced the piano, played a new game, read about a distant country. That night, those new experiences quietly return, not exactly as they happened, but transformed. Researchers have observed something remarkable. People learning new skills often experience changes in their REM sleep. It's almost as though the brain continues practicing long after the lesson has ended, without effort, without pressure, quietly and patiently, as though a gentle teacher continues working while the classroom sleeps. Another theory feels perhaps even more personal. Rather than organizing facts, dreams may help organize feelings. Throughout the day, we experience countless emotions. Some are obvious: joy, excitement, gratitude. Others remain almost invisible. A small disappointment, a conversation that didn't quite feel right, a worry we pushed aside because there simply wasn't time to think about it. Our waking minds are busy. We answer messages, drive to appointments, cook dinner, finish work, move from one task to another. Sometimes, our emotions patiently wait their turn. Night may finally give them the quiet space they need. During REM sleep, areas of the brain involved in emotion become surprisingly active, especially a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. You don't need to remember its name, only its purpose. It helps your brain understand emotional importance. While many logical regions of the brain grow quieter, emotional regions continue speaking, almost as though your mind says, "Let's worry less about whether this story makes sense, and focus instead on how it feels." Perhaps that explains why dreams, even the strangest ones, often leave behind powerful emotions. You may forget every detail, yet remember exactly how the dream made you feel. Safe, hopeful, lonely, joyful, curious, afraid. Feelings often survive. Long after images disappear, there is another beautiful possibility. Some scientists believe dreaming may serve as a kind of gentle rehearsal. Imagine a theater preparing for tomorrow night's performance. Actors quietly rehearse, lighting is tested, mistakes are made safely before anyone enters the audience. Dreams may offer something similar, not predicting the future, simply allowing the brain to explore possibilities. Sometimes those possibilities involve solving problems, sometimes difficult conversations, sometimes unexpected dangers. Occasionally, they become wonderfully absurd. Your dreaming brain has no concern for realism. It asks only one question. What if? What if gravity disappeared? What if birds could speak? What if every road led back to your childhood home? The dreaming mind experiments freely because there are no consequences, no embarrassment, no failure, only imagination. Perhaps that freedom explains why so many remarkable ideas have quietly arrived during sleep. Throughout history, artists, scientists, musicians, writers, and inventors have awakened with solutions that refuse to appear during the day. The mind, released from strict logic, sometimes notices connections that waking consciousness quietly overlooks, not because dreams are magical, but because imagination is wonderfully unafraid of impossible combinations. Sometimes, the most creative thoughts are simply ordinary ideas, meeting one another for the very first time. Of course, not every dream carries hidden wisdom. Sometimes, your brain simply enjoys being playful. A talking penguin, a floating bicycle, a library beneath the ocean, your childhood teacher, hosting a cooking show on the moon. Dreams rarely apologize for their creativity, and perhaps they shouldn't. Not everything beautiful needs to be explained. Sometimes wonder itself is enough. Perhaps the greatest gift of dreaming is not that it gives us answers, but that it reminds us our minds are far larger, far richer, and far more creative than we experience during ordinary waking life. Every night, behind closed eyes, your imagination quietly builds entire universes, complete with landscapes, weather, people, voices, stories, music, emotion, all without asking the outside world for anything at all. It is one of the greatest creative performances you will ever experience. And almost every morning, you forget that it ever happened. There is something beautifully humble about that. But while dreams may feel wonderfully mysterious, they do not appear by accident. Behind every dream, millions of neurons are quietly working together. Some regions of the brain become astonishingly active. Others intentionally grow quiet, each playing its own role, like musicians performing different parts of the same symphony. To understand dreams more deeply, we must first meet the remarkable orchestra that performs them. And that quiet journey begins inside the dreaming brain. The quiet orchestra inside your sleeping brain. If someone asked you where dreams come from, you might point toward the mind. And in a way, you would be right. But the mind itself isn't a single place. It isn't one tiny switch hidden somewhere behind your eyes. It is an entire universe, made of billions upon billions of living cells, all quietly speaking to one another. Every memory you've ever kept, every face you've ever loved, every language you've learned, every fear you've overcome, every hope you've carried exists because these tiny cells have spent a lifetime building connections. And when you finally fall asleep, those conversations do not stop. In many ways, they become even more extraordinary. Imagine attending a magnificent orchestra. Before the performance begins, the stage is alive with musicians. The violinists tune their strings. The percussionists quietly prepare. The conductor walks onto the stage. Every instrument has a different voice. Every musician has a different responsibility. Yet when the music begins, no single instrument creates a symphony. Only together does something beautiful emerge. Your dreaming brain works in much the same way. No single region creates your dreams. Instead, many different parts, each with their own remarkable job, come together every night to perform one of nature's most beautiful symphonies. Let's begin with a familiar character, the prefrontal cortex. If your brain had a wise older friend, this might be it. During your waking hours, this region quietly helps you make sense of the world. It weighs decisions, plans tomorrow, keeps track of time, solves problems, helps you distinguish between what is real and what is impossible. It's the calm voice that gently reminds you. Perhaps sending that message at 2 in the morning isn't your best idea. It helps you resist impulses, think logically, and organize the beautiful complexity of everyday life. But something curious happens once REM sleep begins. This thoughtful planner steps into the background, not forever, just for a little while. It grows much quieter, almost as though it politely leaves the room, allowing imagination to take center stage. Suddenly, rules become optional. Gravity becomes negotiable. Time loses its ordinary meaning. You accept impossible events without the slightest hesitation. A whale might be swimming through your living room. Your childhood dog may suddenly begin speaking perfect English. A mountain may fit inside a teacup. And throughout the dream, nothing seems unusual at all. Only after waking does your logical mind quietly return, raising one amused eyebrow and asking, well, what exactly was that? While logic softens, another part of the brain becomes wonderfully alive, a small structure called the amygdala. You don't need to remember its scientific name. Think of it simply as one of your brain's emotional storytellers. Throughout the day, the amygdala helps you recognize things that matter. joy, fear, excitement, comfort, surprise, love, loss. It quietly asks, how important does this feel? During REM sleep, this emotional center becomes remarkably active, which may explain something you've probably experienced yourself. Sometimes you forget almost every detail of a dream, yet somehow the feeling remains. You wake with a quiet sense of peace or longing or relief or sadness. The story disappears, the emotion stays. Perhaps our hearts remember things, our memories quietly let go. Nearby, another remarkable region quietly joins the performance, the hippocampus. If the amygdala is the emotional storyteller, the hippocampus is the careful librarian. Every day, it helps collect new experiences. Where you parked your car, the face of someone you met, a sentence from a favorite book, the smell of coffee on a rainy morning, a conversation that made you smile. Each experience is gently cataloged, but nighttime is when much of that work continues. The hippocampus begins revisiting memories, not always in perfect order. A face from yesterday may appear beside a place from childhood. A conversation from last week may somehow blend with a vacation from 20 years ago. This mixing often feels wonderfully strange, but perhaps it reflects something beautifully human. Our memories were never truly separate. Everything we've ever lived quietly influences everything else. This is one reason dreams can feel so oddly familiar. Not because they recreate reality, but because they borrow pieces from many different chapters of our lives. Imagine opening a scrapbook, only to discover that someone has gently rearranged every photograph. Your grandparents now stand beside your college roommate. Your childhood home overlooks an ocean you've never visited. Your favorite teacher appears at your current workplace. None of it happened, yet somehow, every piece belongs to you. Dreams don't invent an entirely new world. They gently weave together the countless worlds you've already lived. At the back of your brain, another quiet artist begins its work. The occipital lobe. This is your brain's master of vision. When you're awake, it transforms light entering your eyes into the rich visual world surrounding you. Clouds, mountains, books, faces, moonlight dancing across water. All of it passes through this remarkable region. What's astonishing is that during dreaming, your eyes are closed. No sunlight enters, no landscapes appear before you. And yet, your brain paints entire worlds anyway. Cities you've never visited, forests glowing beneath impossible skies, rooms that shift shape as you walk, faces so vivid they almost seem real enough to touch. It's as though your brain quietly says, I no longer need the outside world. Tonight, I'll create one of my own. Even people who were born without sight often report richly detailed dreams, not always through images, but through sound, touch, movement, emotion, space. This reminds us of something profound. Dreaming is far more than seeing pictures. It is experiencing an entire world, created from within. Then there is one of the quietest miracles of all. Throughout your dream, your body remains peacefully still. Meanwhile, inside the dream, you may be climbing mountains, swimming beneath the sea, running through endless meadows, dancing beneath the stars, flying effortlessly above the clouds. Your dream body moves freely. Your real body hardly moves at all. This remarkable protection comes from specialized regions within the brainstem. They temporarily reduce activity in most voluntary muscles. Scientists call this REM atonia. Without it, sleep might become surprisingly dangerous. Every chase would become a sprint across the bedroom. Every dream of flight, an unexpected leap from the mattress. Instead, your brain quietly keeps watch, allowing your imagination complete freedom, while gently protecting the body resting beneath the blankets. Perhaps that is one of the most caring things your brain quietly does for you. One of the most beautiful discoveries in modern neuroscience is that these regions never work alone. No memory exists by itself. No emotion lives in isolation. No dream belongs to a single neuron. Everything is connected. Every thought, every feeling, every memory is part of an immense conversation taking place across billions of tiny living cells. Your brain is less like a machine and far more like a living forest, each tree standing on its own, every root quietly touching another, messages constantly flowing beneath the surface, whether you notice them or not. Perhaps this is why human experience feels so rich. Nothing inside us is truly separate. Our memories shape our emotions. Our emotions shape our dreams. Our dreams sometimes reshape the way we remember. Everything gently influences everything else, night after night, year after year. And yet, for all that science has uncovered, one mystery still remains. Sometimes, something extraordinary happens. In the middle of a dream, without waking, without opening your eyes, you suddenly realize, I'm dreaming. For one astonishing moment, the dream continues, but now you are aware of it, as though the sleeping mind has quietly become conscious of itself. How is that possible? Why can some people gently steer their dreams, while others simply drift wherever the night carries them? That remarkable phenomenon, known as lucid dreaming, is where our journey leads next. When you realize you're dreaming, imagine you're standing on the edge of a quiet lake at sunrise. The water is perfectly still. Mountains reflect across its surface like a painting. A cool breeze brushes gently against your face. Everything feels completely real. You kneel to touch the water, and as tiny ripples spread across the surface, a curious thought quietly appears. Wait, I'm asleep. For just a moment, the entire world pauses. The mountains remain. The lake remains. The birds continue singing. Nothing around you disappears. Only one thing changes. You. You suddenly know that everything you're experiencing exists entirely inside your own mind. Welcome to one of the strangest experiences human consciousness can offer, a lucid dream. For most of the night, dreams simply carry us wherever they wish. We rarely question them. If a staircase suddenly leads into the clouds, we climb it. If our childhood home somehow becomes a lighthouse, we accept it. If an old friend appears looking exactly as they did 20 years ago, we simply smile and continue the conversation. Dreams ask for remarkably little skepticism, and our sleeping minds are usually happy to oblige. But every so often, something extraordinary happens. A tiny spark of awareness quietly returns. Not enough to wake us, just enough to recognize the impossible. This can't be real. I'm dreaming. That single realization transforms everything. Scientists call this fascinating state lucid dreaming. It sits somewhere between sleeping and waking. Your body remains deeply asleep. Your eyes stay closed. Your muscles remain relaxed beneath the quiet protection of REM sleep. Yet part of your awareness begins behaving almost as though it has awakened. It's one of the few moments in human experience when consciousness seems to observe itself from within. For decades, many researchers doubted whether lucid dreaming even existed. It sounded too extraordinary, too much like science fiction. How could someone be asleep and aware at exactly the same time? Then, careful experiments began providing remarkable evidence. Inside sleep laboratories, researchers invited experienced lucid dreamers to spend the night connected to brain monitors. Before falling asleep, they agreed upon a simple signal. If they became lucid during a dream, they would deliberately move their eyes left, right, left, right. Normally, this would sound impossible, and after all, how can someone communicate while asleep? Yet something fascinating happened. Although the body remained completely still, those agreed-upon eye movements appeared clearly on the recordings. The dreamers had successfully communicated from inside their dreams. Perhaps for the first time in history, scientists had opened a tiny window into the dreaming mind itself. It was a remarkable moment, not because every mystery had been solved, but because the impossible had quietly become measurable. What makes lucid dreaming possible? The answer seems to lie inside the same thoughtful friend we met earlier, the prefrontal cortex. During ordinary dreams, this region becomes much quieter, which explains why we rarely question impossible events. Logic politely steps aside. Imagination takes over. But during lucid dreams, researchers believe parts of the prefrontal cortex begin becoming active once again. Not fully awake, just awake enough to recognize the situation. Imagine watching a play when suddenly one of the actors quietly turns toward the audience and whispers, "By the way, we're all inside a play." The performance continues, but now everything feels wonderfully different. That is something like lucid dreaming. People often ask an obvious question. If you know you're dreaming, can you control the dream? Sometimes, but not always. Lucidity and control are not exactly the same thing. Some dreamers simply become quiet observers. They recognize the dream, yet allow it to unfold naturally. Others discover they can gently influence what happens. Perhaps they decide to fly, or visit a peaceful beach, or speak with someone they miss, or simply wander through beautiful places, knowing nothing there can truly harm them. It's less like directing a movie, and more like gently steering a small boat along a calm river. The dream still has its own current. You're simply helping choose the direction. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of lucid dreaming is not control at all. It is curiosity. Imagine standing inside a world created entirely by your own brain. Every tree, every cloud, every building, every voice, every ray of sunlight exists because billions of neurons quietly decided to create them. There are no architects, no painters, and no actors, only you. And yet, the dream often feels richer than anything you could consciously invent while awake. It reminds us that the human imagination is far larger than our everyday awareness allows us to see. Because lucid dreaming is so fascinating, many people wonder whether it can be learned. The answer appears to be yes, at least for some people. Researchers have developed several techniques that may increase the likelihood of becoming lucid. One approach involves something surprisingly simple. Throughout the day, people pause and gently ask themselves, "Am I dreaming?" At first, the question seems almost silly. Of course you're awake. You're reading, walking, working, drinking coffee. But after repeating this habit often enough, the question may eventually appear inside a dream. Only this time, the answer is different. Perhaps your watch displays impossible numbers. Perhaps a familiar room suddenly changes shape. Perhaps gravity quietly forgets how to behave. And suddenly, awareness blossoms. Oh, this is a dream. Such a tiny habit, yet one capable of opening an extraordinary door. Other techniques involve waking briefly during the night, before gently returning to sleep while holding a simple intention. The next time I dream, I will recognize that I'm dreaming. Researchers call this the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, or mild technique. The name may sound complicated, but the idea is surprisingly gentle. Rather than forcing the mind, you simply offer it a quiet suggestion before drifting back into sleep, like planting a small seed and trusting it to bloom by morning. Of course, lucid dreaming is not something everyone experiences. Some people have several lucid dreams every month. Others may experience only one or none at all throughout their lives. And that's perfectly normal. Dreaming itself is already extraordinary. Lucid dreaming is simply one particularly rare variation, like seeing a rainbow. Beautiful when it happens, not something we need to chase every day. There is another reason researchers continue studying lucid dreams. They may offer comfort to people who struggle with recurring nightmares. Imagine having the same frightening dream again and again for many years. Now imagine, one night, realizing in the middle of that nightmare, none of this can hurt me. Some people discover they can stop running, turn around, face whatever frightened them. Sometimes the monster disappears. Sometimes it simply becomes less frightening. Sometimes it transforms into something entirely unexpected. This growing sense of choice can be deeply healing, not because it erases painful experiences, but because it gently reminds the dreamer that fear does not always have the final word. Still, like many remarkable things, lucid dreaming benefits from balance. Some techniques intentionally interrupt sleep, which may reduce the restorative rest your brain needs. For most people, healthy, consistent sleep remains far more valuable than pursuing lucid dreams every night. The greatest gift sleep offers is not extraordinary experiences. It is quiet restoration, healing, renewal. Everything else is simply a beautiful bonus. Perhaps the most remarkable lesson lucid dreaming teaches us is not that we can control dreams. It is that consciousness itself is far more flexible, far more mysterious than we once imagined. Even while asleep, the mind sometimes opens one quiet eye, looks around, and gently smiles. I know exactly where I am, but not every dream brings that peaceful awareness. Sometimes the stories our minds create become far darker. Instead of wonder, they bring fear. Instead of peaceful exploration, they become desperate escapes. Why would a brain designed to protect us ever frighten us while we sleep? That question leads us into one of the most emotional and surprisingly compassionate chapters of the sleeping mind. And that is where our journey continues next. When dreams become dark, the gentle purpose of nightmares, not every dream is peaceful. Most of us know that. Some nights, our sleeping mind carries us gently across quiet oceans, through familiar homes, or into impossible landscapes filled with beauty. But other nights, the story changes. Without warning, the sky grows darker. The air feels heavier. Something begins following us. We run, yet never seem to move fast enough. We search desperately for someone we love. But every door opens into another empty room. We try to speak, yet no words come out. We reach for safety, only to wake suddenly, heart racing, breathing quickly, grateful that our bedroom is exactly where we left it. Almost everyone has experienced a nightmare. Children, teenagers, parents, grandparents, scientists, artists, teachers, doctors. It doesn't matter how logical, how brave, or how calm we are during the day. Our sleeping minds sometimes choose to tell frightening stories. The question is, why? Why would a brain designed to protect us ever choose fear? At first glance, nightmares seem like mistakes. They interrupt sleep, leave us exhausted. Sometimes they linger throughout the following day, like a shadow quietly following behind us. For centuries, people searched for supernatural explanations. Some believed evil spirits visited sleeping people. Others imagined invisible creatures sitting upon the chest, making it difficult to breathe. Many cultures created stories, trying to explain these terrifying nighttime experiences. Considering how real nightmares feel, it's easy to understand why. Even today, after waking, our hearts sometimes continue believing the dream, long after our minds know it wasn't real. Modern neuroscience offers a gentler explanation. Nightmares, much like ordinary dreams, appear to be deeply connected to emotion, especially emotions that have not yet found peace. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every single day. At first, you hardly notice the weight. Life continues, work, family, and responsibilities, appointments, conversations. You keep walking. Eventually, the weight becomes so familiar, you almost forget you're carrying it, but your body never forgets. Neither does your brain. When night finally arrives and the noise of the day begins to fade, your mind quietly opens that backpack, one memory at a time, one feeling at a time. Sometimes, what it finds is difficult. Researchers believe nightmares may represent the brain's attempt to process overwhelming emotional experiences, not because it wishes to frighten us, but because difficult emotions often demand more attention than comfortable ones. Think about the last time something truly startled you. Perhaps a car suddenly braked in front of you. Perhaps you narrowly avoided slipping on wet pavement. Moments like these stay with us, not because our brains enjoy fear, but because remembering danger has helped human beings survive for countless generations. Our brains evolved to notice what might hurt us. It is one of the reasons fear feels so vivid. From an evolutionary perspective, forgetting where food grows may be inconvenient. Forgetting where danger lives can be far more costly. Perhaps nightmares are one way. Our ancient survival systems continue practicing, long after real danger has passed. But not every nightmare is about physical danger. Sometimes, our greatest fears are emotional. Losing someone we love, being left behind, failing when others depend on us, feeling alone, feeling powerless, being unable to protect the people who matter most. Our dreams often speak this emotional language, rarely in direct sentences, instead, through symbols, a collapsing bridge, an endless hallway, a locked door, a rising wave, a missed train, a house that no longer feels like home. The images differ from person to person, but the emotions beneath them often feel surprisingly familiar. One remarkable discovery has changed how scientists think about nightmares. During ordinary REM sleep, the brain usually reduces certain stress chemicals, particularly norepinephrine. This creates a unique environment. Your brain can revisit emotional memories without triggering the full intensity of the original experience. It's almost like watching a difficult scene from behind protective glass. The memory remains, but its sharpest edges gradually soften. Night after night, your brain quietly files away emotional experiences, making them a little easier to carry. This may be one of the hidden reasons healthy sleep feels emotionally restorative, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because your mind has spent the night helping you carry it. However, sometimes this beautiful system struggles, especially after severe trauma. For people living with post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, dreams may stop behaving like gentle editors. Instead, they become relentless echoes, the same terrifying moments, replayed again and again, almost exactly as they happened. Rather than helping emotions settle, the dream keeps reopening the wound. It is no longer processing the memory. It is reliving it. Researchers believe this happens because the normal emotional calming that REM sleep provides doesn't work as effectively. Instead of reducing emotional intensity, the dream preserves it, like a record that keeps skipping, returning to the same painful note. Fortunately, the story doesn't end there. Over the past few decades, psychologists have developed remarkably compassionate ways to help people whose nightmares refuse to fade. One of the most successful approaches is called imagery rehearsal therapy. The name sounds technical. The idea is beautifully simple. While awake, a person gently rewrites the ending of a recurring nightmare. Perhaps the frightening figure becomes harmless. Perhaps help arrives. Perhaps the dreamer discovers unexpected strength. Then, they mentally rehearse this new version again and again. Over time, many people notice something extraordinary. Their dreams begin changing. The brain, so wonderfully adaptable, starts accepting the gentler version, almost as though it quietly says, perhaps we don't need to tell the frightening story anymore. There is something deeply hopeful in that. Even our dreams can learn. Of course, not every frightening experience during sleep is actually a nightmare. There's another mysterious phenomenon, known as a night terror. Despite the similar name, night terrors are quite different. Unlike nightmares, which usually happen during REM sleep, night terrors occur much earlier, during deep non-REM sleep. A person experiencing one may suddenly sit upright, cry out, appear terrified. Their eyes may even open, yet they are not fully awake. If you speak to them, they often cannot respond. By morning, they usually remember nothing at all. For parents, seeing a child experience a night terror can be heartbreaking. But thankfully, most children eventually outgrow them. It's less a frightening dream and more a brief confusion between sleeping and waking, as if the brain momentarily loses track of which state it is in. Then there is perhaps the most unsettling experience of all: sleep paralysis. Imagine opening your eyes. You recognize your bedroom, the familiar ceiling, the quiet darkness. You know you are awake. You try to move. Nothing happens. For a few long seconds, or perhaps a minute, your body refuses to respond. Some people also report strange sensations: a shadow in the room, footsteps, a presence nearby, pressure across the chest. For thousands of years, experiences like these inspired stories of ghosts, spirits, and mysterious nighttime visitors. Today, science offers a reassuring explanation. Sometimes your mind wakes up just a little earlier, then your body's REM protection switches off. The paralysis meant to keep you safe while dreaming simply lingers for a short time. It feels frightening, but it is temporary, and most importantly, it is harmless. Knowing this doesn't always make the experience pleasant, but it can make it far less mysterious. Perhaps that is one of the greatest gifts science offers us. Not the removal of wonder, but the replacement of fear with understanding. The unknown becomes a little less frightening once we gently shine light upon it. There is something else worth remembering. A nightmare does not mean something is wrong with you. It does not mean you are weak or broken or destined to remain afraid. Sometimes it simply means your mind is still working, still sorting, still healing, still trying in its own strange language. To understand experiences too heavy for daylight alone. In that sense, even nightmares may come from the same quiet place as hope. And perhaps the next time you wake from one, instead of asking, "Why did my brain do this to me?" you might gently ask, "What has my mind been trying to carry for me?" Sometimes that small shift in perspective is enough to replace fear with compassion. Because even on its darkest nights, your sleeping brain has never stopped trying to protect you. It has simply been speaking in the mysterious language of dreams. As the night continues, another quiet question begins to emerge. If our dreams can reflect fear, can they also reflect healing? Can the sleeping mind help us recover from stress, reshape difficult emotions, and quietly guide us toward hope without us even realizing it? That gentle mystery is where our journey leads next. How your sleeping mind gently helps you heal. By now, our journey has taken us through some remarkable places. We've watched the brain quietly clean itself. We've wandered through impossible dreamscapes. We've discovered why emotions often return beneath the cover of darkness. We've even met the strange world of lucid dreams and the shadows of nightmares. But perhaps the most comforting discovery is still waiting for us, because hidden beneath all of this extraordinary activity, your sleeping brain may be doing something wonderfully kind. It may be helping you heal, not all at once, not like flipping a switch, but slowly, patiently, one peaceful night at a time. Life has a curious habit of asking our minds to carry more than they were ever meant to carry alone. Some days, the weight is obvious. A difficult conversation, the loss of someone we love, unexpected news, a season of uncertainty. Other days, and the weight is much quieter. Tiny disappointments, small worries, moments we barely notice, a hurried goodbye, an unanswered message. A mistake we replay far too many times. Individually, these moments seem insignificant, but together, they accumulate like tiny drops of rain filling a quiet lake. Eventually, our minds become heavy without us fully understanding why. During the day, there is rarely enough silence to notice. Our attention is constantly moving. Emails and phone calls, traffic, deadlines, and conversations, responsibilities. Even moments meant for rest often become moments for scrolling. Our brains remain wonderfully busy. There is little room left to quietly process how we truly feel. Perhaps that is one reason sleep exists, not only for the body, but for the heart. While you sleep, especially during REM sleep, your brain begins revisiting emotional experiences, not to punish you, not to remind you of pain, but to understand it. Imagine an old photo album. During the day, you barely have time to open it, but late at night, when the house grows quiet, you finally sit beside a warm lamp, slowly turning each page. Some photographs make you smile, some make you pause, others still carry a little sadness. You don't throw them away, you simply look at them differently. Many researchers believe your sleeping brain may be doing something surprisingly similar. Not erasing difficult memories, but gently changing how they feel. One of the most fascinating discoveries in sleep science is that REM sleep creates a unique emotional environment. During this stage, certain stress-related chemicals, particularly norepinephrine, drop to unusually low levels. Meanwhile, parts of the brain responsible for emotional processing remain remarkably active. This creates an extraordinary opportunity. Your mind can revisit emotional experiences without carrying quite the same emotional intensity. It's almost as though your brain whispers, "Let's look at this again, but this time, we'll do it together." Perhaps that is why, after a good night's sleep, yesterday's problems sometimes seem just a little easier to face. The problem itself may not have changed, but you have. Have you ever gone to bed feeling overwhelmed by a difficult decision, only to wake with unexpected clarity? Perhaps nothing happened overnight, at least nothing you consciously noticed, yet somehow your thoughts feel less tangled. Your emotions seem calmer. The answer appears just a little closer. This experience is surprisingly common. Throughout history, writers, scientists, musicians, and ordinary people alike have spoken of waking with solutions that refused to appear the evening before. It isn't magic. Your brain simply never stopped working. While you rested, it continued making quiet connections, testing possibilities, sorting memories, untangling emotions, without demanding your attention. Mental health and dreaming share a remarkably close relationship. When life becomes stressful, our dreams often become more vivid, more emotional, sometimes stranger. People experiencing anxiety frequently describe dreams filled with urgency, running late, searching endlessly for something, trying to solve problems that never seem to end. Those living with depression often describe dreams that feel quieter, heavier, sometimes colorless. Not because dreams cause these emotions, but because dreams often reflect the emotional landscape we carry through our waking lives, like a calm lake reflecting the changing sky above it. Researchers are increasingly interested in this connection, not because dreams provide magical answers, but because they sometimes reveal emotional patterns we have overlooked. A recurring dream, a familiar feeling, a certain place that appears night after night, may quietly remind us that something inside still deserves our attention. Not fear, not overthinking, simply the gentle curiosity. The dreaming mind speaks softly, it rarely shouts. This is why many therapists encourage people to pay attention to dreams, without becoming trapped by them. A dream does not predict the future, nor does every symbol hide a secret meaning. Sometimes a dream is simply the brain tidying yesterday's experiences. Sometimes it reflects a worry you've been carrying. Sometimes it's nothing more than imagination joyfully wandering wherever it pleases. A floating lighthouse, a purple elephant reading poetry, your childhood neighbor conducting an orchestra of birds. Not every dream is a puzzle. Some are simply expressions of the extraordinary creativity that lives inside every human brain. And that is perfectly enough. There is another comforting thought. Healing is rarely dramatic. We often imagine recovery as a single breakthrough moment, one conversation, one realization, one perfect night's sleep. Real life is usually gentler than that. Healing often happens the way sunrise happens, so gradually that we hardly notice until suddenly the world is full of light. Sleep works much the same way. Each night, your brain makes tiny adjustments, strengthening one connection, softening another, organizing one memory, calming one emotion. None of these changes seem remarkable by themselves, but together, night after night, they quietly shape who you become. Perhaps that is one of the greatest lessons sleep teaches us. You do not have to solve every problem today. Some things require time, some require patience, and some continue healing while you are peacefully asleep. There is something deeply reassuring about knowing that even when you feel you are doing nothing, your brain has not given up on you. It continues working, quietly, faithfully, every single night. Of course, dreams are only one part of this remarkable story. You are more than your dreams, more than your worries, more than your difficult nights. But dreams remind us of something profoundly hopeful. Our minds are never truly still. They are always adapting, always learning, always searching for balance, always trying, in their own beautifully mysterious way to help tomorrow's version of us become just a little stronger than today's. As our journey begins drawing toward its final chapter, there is one last mystery waiting in the quiet darkness, one that reaches beyond human beings altogether. Because when you look out across the sleeping world tonight, you may not be the only dreamer. Somewhere, a dog gently twitches in its sleep, a bird rests with its head beneath its wing, an elephant lies beneath the stars. Even tiny creatures hidden deep within the forest may be wandering through dream worlds of their own. There is something wonderfully comforting about that thought. Perhaps dreaming is not simply something humans do. Perhaps it is one of life's oldest and most beautiful nighttime traditions. And that is where our final journey begins. The beautiful secret we all share each night. As our journey slowly draws to a close, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Tonight, after this video ends, after the room grows quiet once more, after you gently close your eyes, something extraordinary will happen. Not because of anything we've talked about, not because you've learned something new, but because your brain will quietly continue doing what it has always done. Long before neuroscience, long before sleep laboratories, long before anyone understood neurons, or brainwaves, or REM sleep, it already knew. Perhaps that is one of the most comforting truths in all of biology. Your brain has been practicing sleep every single night since before you were born. It doesn't need instructions. It doesn't need reminders. It doesn't ask for perfection. It simply follows one of the oldest rhythms life has ever known, the rhythm of day and night, activity and rest. Breathing in, breathing out, awake and asleep. Nature has always understood something that modern life sometimes encourages us to forget. Nothing can remain awake forever. Everything living must eventually rest. As human beings, we often feel responsible for everything. We solve problems, make decisions, plan tomorrow, replay yesterday, carry worries that haven't even happened yet. Sometimes, we even try to control sleep itself. Why can't I fall asleep? What if I don't sleep enough? Why won't my mind stop thinking? The more tightly we hold on, the further sleep sometimes drifts away. But perhaps sleep has never been something we force. Perhaps it has always been something we gently allow, like watching the tide come in or waiting for the first stars to appear. The harder we demand them, the longer they seem to take, yet eventually, or they always arrive. One of the most beautiful discoveries modern science has given us is not simply understanding how sleep works. It is understanding how much your body wants to help you. Your heart wants to keep beating. Your lungs want to keep breathing. Your immune system wants to protect you. Your brain wants to restore itself. Sleep is not your enemy. Your body is not working against you. Even on difficult nights, it is quietly trying to guide you back toward balance. Sometimes it succeeds easily. Sometimes it takes longer, but the intention never changes. Your biology has always been on your side. Perhaps that changes the way we think about insomnia or restless nights. Instead of seeing them as proof that something inside us is broken, perhaps we can see them as signs that our wonderfully complex brains are asking for a little more kindness, a little less pressure, a little more patience. After all, even the healthiest forests experience storms. Even oceans have restless nights, yet morning still comes, again and again. Nature has never expected perfection, neither should we. As we've discovered together, your sleeping brain is never truly silent. Every night, it becomes a careful librarian, organizing memories, a compassionate therapist, softening difficult emotions, a brilliant engineer, repairing delicate neural pathways, a quiet housekeeper, removing the waste accumulated throughout the day, an artist, painting impossible dreamscapes, a storyteller, creating worlds no one else will ever see, a faithful guardian, keeping your body safe while your imagination wanders freely. Perhaps the greatest surprise is this: while you believed you were doing nothing, your brain was doing almost everything, and you are far from alone. At this very moment, while these words gently fade into the quiet, Millions of people around the world are preparing for sleep. A child curls beneath a favorite blanket. A nurse finally returns home after caring for others through the night. An elderly couple quietly turns off the bedside lamp. A college student closes one last textbook. Someone watches snow falling outside a bedroom window. Someone else listens to gentle waves reaching a distant shore. Across deserts, mountains, cities, villages, and islands, one light after another quietly disappears. One by one, millions of minds begin the same remarkable journey. And we humans are not the only travelers. Somewhere, a golden retriever dreams beside the family couch. Perhaps its paws twitch gently as it runs across an endless green field. A tiny songbird sleeps with its head tucked beneath a feather, its sleeping brain quietly rehearsing tomorrow's song. Far out beneath the ocean, great whales drift through dark water, following rhythms older than civilization itself. Deep within ancient forests, foxes, deer, and countless other creatures rest beneath the same sky. Even elephants, those gentle giants whose memories have fascinated scientists for generations, experience their own quiet periods of dreaming. The details remain a mystery. We may never know exactly what another creature dreams about. And perhaps that mystery is part of the beauty. Because for one peaceful part of every day, life itself seems to slow down, not just for us, but for almost every living thing that shares this remarkable planet. There is something deeply comforting in that thought. While we sleep, we belong to something much larger than ourselves. Perhaps that is what dreams have always been quietly reminding us, not secret prophecies, not hidden codes waiting to be solved, but gentle evidence that the human mind is wonderfully alive, even in complete darkness. Dreams remind us that imagination never truly sleeps, that healing often happens invisibly, that memories continue finding their proper places, that emotions soften with time, and that tomorrow's version of ourselves is quietly being prepared, long before the morning sun appears. So tonight, if sleep comes easily, welcome it with gratitude. If it arrives slowly, meet it with patience. If dreams appear, allow them to drift through your mind like passing clouds. You do not need to understand every one of them. You do not need to remember them all. Your brain already knows what to keep and what to gently let go. Trust it. It has been caring for you every night of your life. Before we part, I'd like you to notice something. Your breathing. There's no need to change it. Simply notice. Slow, steady, gentle. Your heart continues beating without asking for your attention. Your body grows a little heavier against the bed, supported completely by the mattress beneath you. Outside, the world continues turning. The moon follows its quiet path across the sky. Somewhere, rain may be falling. Somewhere else, the first stars are appearing. And here, in this peaceful moment, there is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing left to solve tonight. Nothing left to prove. Nothing left to carry until morning. If your eyes have already begun to grow heavy, that's perfectly okay. That means your remarkable brain is preparing for another beautiful night's work. Soon, your thoughts will begin to soften. The world around you will grow quieter. The familiar rhythm of sleep will gently return. Perhaps a dream will be waiting. Perhaps only deep, peaceful rest. Either way, your mind knows exactly where to go. And that is one of the most beautiful acts of trust we experience every single day. Thank you for sharing this quiet journey with me tonight. I hope these gentle moments have brought you a little more curiosity, a little more peace, and perhaps a little more confidence in the incredible work your brain quietly performs while you sleep. So now, let the day slowly drift away. Allow every breath to become just a little softer. And as sleep gently finds you, remember this one simple truth. Even when you are completely still, your mind is quietly caring for tomorrow's you. Sleep well, and I'll be here again whenever you need another peaceful journey into the beautiful science of sleep.